Hello everyone and welcome to the channel, The Eradicator here, and in today's video we will talk about some sad news again about Star Wars, guys. Every time we have some news about Star Wars games, it's always sad news. It's so depressing to be I would say, an original Star Wars fan, right? Love the originals, love the prequels as well, but sequels, it's a different story, right? But, it is what it is, and, gone are those days when we had plenty of awesome games that were somewhat supervised by George Lucas. All of that is gone, and I'm afraid that back in those days, until the last days of LucasArts, those games were really made in the best interest of the gamers, but and especially in the best of interest of Star Wars fans. But that is not the case anymore, unfortunately, especially since Disney gave the exclusive rights to Electronic Arts. Luckily, this is not the case anymore, but it really seems once more that Electronic Arts is squandering an opportunity to make an awesome Star Wars game, and we're talking about Star Wars Battlefront 3 here. And this is some news that was brought by a journalist of the name of Tom Henderson, who apparently is some kind of insider, who is reporting the reason why we're not going to get a Star Wars Battlefront 3 from EA at least. And the reason is because, according to him, the game is simply going to cost too much money to make, or at least it is not going to be profitable enough. Those Star Wars games obviously always need to be on the top of their game, graphically speaking at least, especially the Battlefront games have always been, in terms of photorealism, I'm talking about the new Battlefront, of course, not the old ones. They've always been very photorealistic, made by DICE, right? And all of that time is basically money invested in games that were not that successful compared to the other franchise that DICE is working, which is, of course, the Battlefield series. And also, all those resources allocated to a Star Wars Battlefront games would thus not be allocated to a Battlefield series, which is an in-house license, obviously, from EA, that EA doesn't need to get any rights from, they don't need to pay any money from, right? So those games are obviously much more profitable, which explains why they would be getting the priority. So when it comes to how much more sales EA has to make in order to make the same amount of money they would make with a Battlefield game, well, the amount we have is about 20%, according to the article. They said that it takes 20% more sales to make the same money, and there is a reason for that. That's basically the backlash that EA got with the last Battlefront game when it was released. You guys probably remember those ubiquitous loot boxes that were all over the game, and it was indeed kind of a predatory system which strongly enticed weaker-minded players to open their wallets and buy those loot boxes, hoping to get the best advantages over other players who would not have opened their wallet further. And of course, there was a big of a backlash, because this is the kind of strategy that normally freemium games or free-to-play games would have, which would eventually be pay to win, right? And unfortunately, for Battlefront 2, people had to pay the game for a full price. We're talking about $60 here, and on top of that, if they wanted to have a chance in multiplayer, or at least get an advantage or be on equal foot against other players who had the same advantages, they had to open their wallet, and at the same time they were not even sure to get these the same advantages. I mean, these loot boxes were so predatory that you could be, for example, spending $10 on loot boxes only to have most of them being basic items and a few decent items, but none of the epic items that would be so desirable for those players, which of course would entice them to buy more loot boxes just with the hope of having the cards that they would like to have. So that was really why these loot boxes were associated with gambling in a lot of jurisdictions. Some of them even tended to ban those loot boxes, because this was a game that was sold not just to adults but also minors as well, people under 18 years old, and obviously gambling is not allowed for people who are not adults yet, right? So that's the reason why eventually Electronic Arts completely reviewed how Battlefront would work. They've removed those loot boxes, and they solely decided to focus on cosmetics, which is the way to go. But unfortunately, unfortunately for EA at least, people are less interested in cosmetics than having advantages in game, which is why they never made the same amount of money. Plus, the licenses right means that they have to give to Lucasfilm a significant amount of money back to the original the owners of the right, which explains why in the end, Electronic Arts is a company that wants to make money. Every company wants to make money, right? But especially Electronic Arts, one of those big companies with very greedy shareholders, right? And executives that do not have in mind the best interests of the players, but instead the best interests of the shareholders. And that's the reason why the decision is made not to make a Battlefront 3. Now, we can really hope that eventually, well, the Battlefront series will be not necessarily bought but acquired by another studio, or maybe Disney will decide to take it from Electronic Arts and give it to another studio that would be willing to take the risk, or at least make the investment to make the money, and eventually, of course, give back some of that money to Lucasfilm, but then make a profit, maybe not as large as what they make with an in-house game. But at the same time, I think that the name Star Wars would still attract enough players to make it up, and at least maybe if the game is good, it may not be the most profitable game, but it could act as a Halo game, a little bit like some cars, for car manufacturers. They make those very amazing supercars that don't sell much or actually make them lose money, but it brings so much prestige to those companies that's why they keep on making them all over and over again. I think that this is maybe an approach that one of the studios that could work on Star Wars games could take. It's not going to be the most profitable game, but something that they could gain a lot of prestige with if those Star Wars games are very well done. So that's maybe a little bit of hope here that we could get for future Star Wars games, now that, the license is not exclusive to EA. But, let me know in the comment section down below, guys. What do you guys think? What was your favorite game of the new era under Electronic Arts? What do you guys think of Jedi Fallen Order, for example? A lot of people were really fond of that game. I found it, I don't know, a little bit phony, but that's just my own opinion. Of course, I preferred, for example, I preferred the single-player campaign of Battlefront 2, but I think that I'm in the minority here. Anyway, guys, that's all for this quick video on the update on why we haven't gotten any Star Wars Battlefront 3 from EA and why we're not going to get any soon. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. This is the Eradicator. I'll see you guys later. A huge shout out to everyone who's been helping me out on Patreon and via the YouTube Joint membership program. Creating content on YouTube involves continuous circles of ups and downs, and it is when we are the lower parts of the curve that your help really motivates me to keep on going. Your contribution really does make a difference, which is why in return I try to give back by offering backers access to my private Discord channel, automatic access to exclusive giveaways, or answering your questions during the show. You can help me out with as little as $1 a month, and any help is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching again. This is the Eradicator. I'll see you guys later.